Sometimes people ask why I advocate for people to play a more active role in their own safety. Because it's their duty and responsibility. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. Police in America are not omnipresent. We're not all over the place all the time. We can't be there at every moment of every day. Self-defense is the first law of nature, survival. All right, there are times when you have to protect yourself because the police aren't there and they aren't going to be there in a period of time, in a quick period of time. I'll give you an example. Someone crashes through your door in the middle of the night. How quick are the police going to get there? There's some things that you need to do. It's your duty and responsibility to protect yourself and your family. How you get that done is your business. I don't advocate that anybody do it in any particular way, but there are options now with the Personal Protection Act. It's now an option. It's now a consideration. And I remind people, the state has now given you the means with which to better protect yourself. Right? The state has an obligation to do that. All right? There's always going to be a need for the police, but the police are usually there after the incident happened. So even if you quickly pick up the phone and dial 911 and the perpetrator has kicked your back door down, he's inside your house now. As one of my ads said, you can hide under the bed, you can lock yourself in the closet. I don't say don't do that. I said, but you have some other options too. But it doesn't remove the duty that you have to protect yourself and your family. So however you want to get that done is your business. But what I'm reminding people, through my position on concealed carry, if you choose that method, there's responsibilities that go along with that. And I talk about the responsibilities. All right, think about these things ahead of time. All right, what are you going to do? We had a situation in the city of Milwaukee, 27th and Valete, high crime area. A maintenance man, who lived in Cudahy, by the way, but a maintenance man was at an apartment building that he does work at, was attacked and was brutally being beaten by 3 individuals. One who had a miniature baseball bat. The other one had his hands around his throat, had him up against a staircase, beating him unmercifully. He had the wherewithal, because he was a CCW permit holder, to get his gun out of his holster, fired 2 shots, killed 2 of the actors. That's a tragic situation, it really is, but not through any fault of his. But guess what? That gun saved his life. So for all the talk I hear about how guns bad and kill people, that gun saved his life. I want people to have that option. That's why I support concealed carry for those who want to do it. If you don't want to do it and you're not comfortable with it, fine. You'll have to think about some other options though. Okay, there was a bar owner, city of Milwaukee, a little under a year ago, sitting in his bar with patrons on scene. 3 masked hold-up men come in, announce a robbery, tell everybody to get on the floor. He kept the firearm behind the bar. He pulled the firearm out to defend himself and his patrons. I said, you got a duty to protect yourself. Fired a shot and killed one of the hold-up men. That gun saved his life. In that situation, what was 911 going to do? Nothing. Not until maybe, I don't know, 5. I told you the delayed response time in the city of Milwaukee. Again, through no fault of the police, officers on the street. They're not getting any backing from City Hall. But my point is, you play a role. That's what my defense series talks about. You play a role in this. You can't be a spectator anymore. I need you in the game, I say. That bar owner was in the game as it related to his personal defense, as was the maintenance man on 27th and Valete. He was in the game as it related to his personal defense. I think it's irresponsible for the political class, for Chris Abele, county executive, for Mayor Tom Barrett and others, to not feel that people should be able to do that. So like I said, it's the first law of nature. Now, Mayor Tom Barrett, several years ago, was coming out of State Fair, walking with his family through a neighborhood, and he intervened on a domestic violence situation that was going on in the street. And the actor in that case took a tire iron and started beating the mayor unmercifully. beat him within inches of his life. What good was 911 going to do for the mayor at that point in time? Nothing. He was under attack. And I would like to think that if the mayor was armed, we would have had a very different result than him sitting in a hospital for a month recovering from his injuries. And I would think after a life-altering situation like that, that the mayor of Milwaukee, Tom Barrett, would be a little more sensitive to the residents and neighborhoods in the city of Milwaukee who have to live with this on a daily basis. He just came across it once. He usually travels with armed security, and rightfully so. But he didn't have them that day. And he wasn't armed. He's like the majority of people in these neighborhoods in the city of Milwaukee. They don't get, remember I talked about that consistent, visible presence? Why does the mayor walk around with armed security? For a consistent, visible presence, for a firewall, for the threats that he faces. Well, our neighborhood residents face the same threats. Why do we not give them the same tools and the same support with which we give our elected officials? I get to carry a gun to work every day. But the average citizen not only cannot, even if they're a CCW permit holder, they don't always carry their weapon, and they may not be able to carry it at work if there's some gun-free zone policy. But we still need to afford them some sort of method with which to defend themselves. So I would like to think the mayor would be a little more sensitive to the plight of people in his city that have to live with this crime and violence on a daily basis, like the 4 people I said, the bystanders who were shot in crossfires in the last 2 weeks. But he's not, because politics trumps the people in his instance, and he's a big supporter of the mayors against guns and mayors against the Second Amendment. But again, I find that cruel, because had the mayor had his way, the maintenance man wouldn't have been able to defend himself. And the maintenance man, I talked to him. He said he thought he was going to be killed. The bartender who defended his life and his patrons against 3 masked holdup men. Why shouldn't they have? I would like to think that the mayor should have been down there giving him the keys to the city as doing his civic duty. We had a situation in West Allis where a man intervened on behalf of a woman who was being beaten. And when he went to intervene, much like the mayor did, the suspect turned his sights on the Good Samaritan and started coming after him. He was a CCW permit holder. He pulled his gun out and said, "You keep coming at me, I'm going to shoot you." And guess what happened? The guy stopped and he fled. He didn't have to shoot him that day, see? So it's not all about just because you can defend yourself, you're going to kill somebody. But it gave the perpetrator something to think about. Because maybe the perpetrator was bigger than him and said, "I can take this guy." But he saw that gun and says, "No, I'm not going to do that." He saved that woman's life potentially. He saved her from a severe beating. Why shouldn't we allow our people to the means with which to do that sort of thing? He wasn't policing. He was on his way home from work and he saw a woman on a street corner being beaten by a man. Should he have just kept going? I bet many people did. That's a decision people make sometimes. But he said, "No, this is wrong." But would he have stopped had he not been armed? See, these are the things that I try to remind these anti-gun people. I don't care if you're anti-gun, that's fine. I'm not saying you should be pro-gun, but don't take someone else's ability away and the means with which to defend themselves and their families. Don't do that. I think that's wrong. We had a transit supervisor, Milwaukee County Transit supervisor, that intervened on behalf of a woman who was being beaten, another domestic violence situation. Now, he was not armed, but guess what he did while he was working? He stopped, he got out, and he told the guy, "Hey, leave her alone." That's what we wanted people to do. That's that intervention I talked about, where we got to give the criminals something else to think about, that the community's engaged here. There's no cop around. I think I can wail on her, but guess what? Some good Samaritan said, "Hey, knock that off." All right, then the perpetrator said some words to him, but then he left her and he walked away. Saved her from a severe beating. Where was the political class for the bar owner during the armed robbery, for the maintenance worker, and for the Good Samaritan in West Allis? Where was the political class? They were nowhere to be found. I reached out to all 3 of those people. and just said, hey, I'm proud of you for doing your civic duty. All right? That's the kind of city I want to live in. That's the kind of city that criminals do not want to operate in. And that's why I call myself the People's Sheriff.